Hello and good day. My name's David Shackleton. I'm the Sales Director of Theorem, and I'm going to give you this presentation today on starting your journey with augmented, mixed and virtual reality in engineering and manufacturing. This is very much a webinar aimed at those who are, as it says, starting their journey, looking at the new devices that are available on the marketplace and considering what they can be used for, how they can be used in your environment. The agenda for today is quite a short agenda. It does have 6 items, but they're all quite brief. First of all, an introduction about ourselves, a very short introduction. Talk about the interest and the devices. What are they all about? What are they capable of? How can they be used? Where can they be used? And the challenges in using them, and what are people doing with them today? That is the question, which I'm sure you're all asking yourselves as well. So first of all, Theorem, who are we? Well, a lot of you may well know us. In fact, the slide here is a list of our customer base. We're very strong in the automotive and aerospace world, also in the defence and power space as well. But our business is all about making sure you can utilise your CAD assets. That's taking your CAD that you've designed, or you've created over the many years, and taking that into other areas of your business, and allowing you to visualize them with things like JT viewers or Creo View or 3D XML. Also in terms of creating documentation through PDF, rich documentation, so utilizing your CAD assets there to create, for example, work instructions for manufacturing. Excuse me. Or what we're specifically talking about today, which is taking your CAD data and making it available for use in these new devices. So a little bit of history first of all before we go any further. So virtual reality, commercial virtual reality, has been around for quite a while. I put on the slide 30 years. In fact, you could argue it is nearer 50. And it's been driven in the past by niche suppliers who've created applications and sold them into the automotive and aerospace industries, who have used these power walls and caves to visualize their aircraft, vehicles, automotive vehicles, at relatively high costs. The power walls and caves tended to start for £250,000, euros or dollars, whichever currency you wish to choose, of that sort of order of magnitude, and go upwards. Some companies have spent several millions. It's not unusual to hear of that. And so you've got quite a costly device, costly to run, and which is probably unique in that organisation. And so if it's just the one, then it's got limited availability for the majority of people to use it. So it is very much a specialist area for doing specialist visualization. Whereas the consumer world of VR has grown over the last 20 years or so, and which has been started very much by consoles, gaming consoles, Sony PlayStations, Xboxes, driven by the different companies from those traditionally playing in the engineering and manufacturing space, aimed at consumers, very much aimed at low cost, because of the fact it's aimed at consumers, and making them widely available. And what we've got in the last few years is these new devices, use of mobile phones, even in cardboard headsets, to provide gaming experiences. It's bringing this technology now, this sort of virtual reality, mixed reality, augmented reality experience into the world of the enterprise, of the business. And the challenge for us all is how to combine these two worlds. So we've got a collision course, but a positive collision course at that, and I say that. Okay, so what are the new devices? And let's have a quick look at them. So you're probably familiar with the term a Microsoft HoloLens. That's a picture of one of those. You're all very familiar with a tablet. This is an HTC Vive, which is a headset you obviously put on and completely immerse yourself in. I think that's an Acer one, or I think the HP have a very similar looking device as well. Dacry have introducing a new headset. Oculus Rift and Dell have got a headset as well. And you can see that the devices on the right look very much at the pictures from web pages. They're freely available pictures, but you can see that they're aimed at the gaming type space marketplace, the leisure marketplace, rather than industry. One thing is for sure, that these devices are the devices of today, but what are the devices going to be in the future? And they could be around for 5 years, could be around for 1 year, who knows? They'll be replaced by lower cost, lighter, easier to wear devices, I'm sure. And if you think of the mobile phone marketplace, 20 years ago, the players who started off in that space tend not to, well, if you look at them, are not really around today. It's a completely different marketplace. So who knows what it'll be like in the world of virtual, mixed and augmented reality. We don't know, I don't know. These players may be around in 20 years' time, but they may not, and that's the point. So we've talked about the devices. Let's just put them into, sort of categorize them, and these are our definitions. I should stress they're our definitions, although the first definition is very much a well accepted definition of virtual reality, which is when you actually get fully immersed in a digital experience. So I talked about a power wall in a cave, for example. That's when you are very much looking at something completely digital. You're in a room, everything around you is digital. If you put a headset on, and that again is you're completely immersed. You have no concept of the real world, and you are in a truly digital world. The Vive and Oculus Rift are examples of those devices. Augmented reality is where you're looking at digital data and physical data on the same device. So you may have using a camera on a tablet, for example, and you may look at it in the room you're in, or the factory floor, or even outdoors, and you impose a digital model or digital image onto the screen. So it's augmenting the real world. And examples of that are tablets, are the Dacria headsets, smart helmets and glasses. So again, a definition of augmented reality, a Theorem definition in this case. And the final one is mixed reality, and this is very different experience again from the first two. Mixed reality is more of a Microsoft definition, and it's the ability to view holographic data, and so you get a hologram in your view as an experience. So when you interact with it, you tend not to want to sort of touch it, but the best way to interact is to actually walk around it, or to look at it, look down on it, look underneath it, and to get the best experience. It is always the digital model is with you in the room, and so this is the HoloLens is a holographic lens. If you think of the name, quite obvious, but holographic, you're looking at holographic data. So those are the three definitions of which we'll go forward from here. Okay, so what do people want from these devices? So we talked about gamers. Well, they want a good scene, a good image. They want great visualization, good performance. They want people to run across the vehicles, to move. So exciting image. Keep your vision occupied. You want to focus on some objects, but you don't really want to know much about the object. You might want to blow it up, but you don't really want to interrogate it and look at the detail about it. And as a gamer, you want lots of applications, you want lots of choice, different games to play. So good quality, fast moving, great images, and lots of choice in summary. But you as engineers and manufacturing engineers might want something quite different. Some things are the same. You want good visualization, but you probably want to put in your data into these devices. So you want a 3D model in there. You want great visualization, good visualization. You want performance. You want to be able to manipulate it and look at it. You want to see the structure of it, and you want to look at the detail of that model. You might want to delve into the assembly structure. You may want some manufacturing information. How can I put this together? What's some information about the mass properties? You have a different requirement from the gamer. You may also want other metadata to complement the model. You might want to know how many items of this you've got in stock, whereabouts are they situated, or what's the cost price. Again, different information from the gaming world. And you want some tools within these devices to be able to get this information. You want to interrogate the model to be able to get the information you need. And similarly, from the gamer, you want a choice of applications. You want to go to the marketplace and choose the application that is right for your use case. So some consistencies, some differences, and it's important to know the differences as we go forward, because that is the challenge as for you in the industry to take these devices further in the life cycle. Okay, so where can they be used? And where do we see people using them and talking about using them? First of all, digital twin. You might want to walk into a factory, look at a real physical model device, a bit of equipment, and you want to bring up the digital twin of that. So you hold your tablet up and bring up the digital twin, and you can interrogate it. Quite powerful when you get that to work, and many potential use cases in that area. Design reviews. Currently today, as designers, you're probably designing a CAD tool. You'll view that the design in the CAD tool, or if you pass that to a colleague, they may have a viewing tool to view that view the 3D model, but in a 2D screen, traditional screen. What if you could just put a headset on and view it as a hologram or in a virtual reality environment? You get a different perspective. You get far more interaction with the model you've just created, and you can get a lot more information about your design, and you can refine it a lot quicker. In manufacturing, you could use it for work instructions, sort of complex work instructions. You could look at the model you're trying to build, and you could get some information in that sense. Service, in a sense, same sort of principles, where you're trying to fix or repair a product. You might not be that familiar with it. It might not break down very often, or it might be quite a complex product. But you might want a device which would help you do that. And currently today we might use a YouTube video or a hard copy manual. This is another way to solve that problem and give you more information as you do it. I think the question here, or the point is here, you get a better experience in terms of what the information you get from the current one you're currently using. So that's probably the key. Training is a great area as an example for using this technology. If you have a product which is quite an expensive product, and when you run a training course, it takes up that product, which could be used elsewhere. Then you save yourself considerable money by using these technologies, virtual reality training or mixed reality training, to teach people how to use and operate the products without the real product being there. So it could save you enormous amounts of money. You could even do the training before the product has been built, if you look at it, if you take it to the step further. And sales and marketing. This is an area where we see people using this technology to promote their wares, their products to their customers, and to outdo their competition. One guy shows a data sheet, 2D data sheet, paper data sheet, is going to look or could look quite. Looks very different in comparison with a guy who puts on a headset and says, "Look at this. This is what you're going to get," and you can view it in a holographic form. It's quite a difference, quite a different experience. And if you're trying to wow and impress your customers, that could make the difference in a competitive sales environment. So again, these are areas where we're seeing these people or seeing customers looking to use this technology to give them advantage, save costs. However, before you get too excited, I just want to bring you down to earth a little bit. Gartner is a market research company. There's a lot of research in technology, and they are what's called a hype cycle for emerging technologies, and this is their view of the world in 2017. Now, the hype cycle is a well-known, well accepted curve, which starts when new technology comes along, and people get excited about the technology and think it's going to solve all world problems, and that goes at the peak of inflated expectations. However, that peak then falls off very quickly, and people then start to use it a bit more, understand it, and think this is not quite as good as we first thought. It's no good, and we go into the trough of disillusionment. But then at that point, reality does kick in, and they think, yes, it can be used, and we then plan to how to use that and put it into production. So After this initial euphoria, we do have this sort of the downturn, the depression, but then reality again. The trough of reality, or the slope of enlightenment, not the trough of reality, is where we are, and that's where you see things like virtual reality. I said it's been around a while. It's on that people are now really looking at this and how they can put this into production environments. Some people have put it in, and it is in production environments, so it is well on the way to being accepted. I think the challenge is to get it into more and more to democratize that technology. Augmented reality is slightly behind it, but is catching up with it. Whereas if you look at things like Internet of Things, a platform, and digital twin, these are more buzzwords and hype words about how we can use this type of technology, really. And so it's further back in the development cycle, but is not should be coming soon. But people are seeing things on things like YouTube. You get videos on YouTube of digital twin, which are exactly that. They're videos rather than actual reality. So be careful with what you see on YouTube. But people's expectations of the digital twin are rising as day by day, and I think reality will hit home soon. And but I think the technology will very much come to the fore, and people will start to use it in the months and years to come. But don't think you can do it today with digital twin. Okay, so after a little bit of back to earth, how are they used today? What are people doing? Well, people today are looking at proof of concept studies for this technology. And why are they doing this? Well, first of all, they're trying to find the best place they can get a return from it. And that's quite obvious when you say it, but really it is, where can this technology be used in your industry, in your business, to get the best return for you? And at the moment, it's not always clear to everybody. It's not clear to the majority. They're also trying to build widespread support for the use of these devices within their organisations. A lot of people, like us here, we were familiar with them, you're becoming more familiar with them. A lot of people aren't. And people have to see them, to try them, to see, yes, I could use that, I could wear that, that would be useful for me in my job. So it's building up that support within the organisation. And the bottom three really are to see, okay, once you've got the devices, what's it like to wear them? Is the quality of the experience good? Can I wear it for long periods of time? Can I get any data into these devices? What data do I want? If I'm making screws, I could probably get a few screws and brackets in. But can I get what if you want to load a whole aircraft in? Can I get that into these devices? These are all the questions that have to be asked and tested. And the performance of the models and the data and what you want to do once you get it in. So these are the proof of concept studies that people are starting to do today. So the challenges they're having, well, I've touched on a few of them as we've gone through, but loading CAD data into the devices are really, as we said earlier, are designed for games, really, for gaming models, so not necessarily for putting CAD into them. So you have to make sure your CAD data can load into them. And you probably want to get them in pretty quickly. I mean, if you're doing a design review, you don't want to spend half a day designing something and then another day and a half trying to get it into the device. So you want to get it in quickly so you can look at it. You want the experience to be pretty good. Well, pretty good is the wrong word, very good really. So you want it to be as good as you can, and you want the performance to be good. And that's measured in frames per second, the FPS by these devices. I've also touched on digital and physical overlays when I talked about the Internet of Things. As I've said, YouTube has got some great videos of things that you can, or it perceives can be done, or will be able to be done in the future. But just be very careful about the expectation you have with this type of technology. It is possible, but there's a lot of work that people are doing to make this suitable for a production environment, and there's still work to be done in this space. But just be careful of not oversetting your expectations in this area. So the use case, again, I've talked about the use case. This is so important that you look at the right places where it can be applied in your business, and not just the use case itself, but the detail of it. And I'll take the digital twin use case as an example here. You could you say, yes, we want to use a digital twin, but say you walk into a factory and you've got your tablet and you hold it up against a physical device, and you want the digital twin to come up. Do you want to overlay it exactly? Do you want to put it aside? What information do you want to bring up alongside with it? How do you want to interact with it? Who's going to be doing it for what purpose? So you've got to really be clear about how you're going to use it in the detail of it. And everyone will be different. You might want a digital twin use case, but everyone's digital twin use case will be slightly different. So that's the unique features of that. And the final challenge is actually, what software applications are out there today, and there are very few in this space. There are few applications, and that again is a challenge to industry. However, fear not on that challenge. Theorem does have an out-of-the-box visualization experience. So we've spent the last couple of years doing a lot of development work in this area, and so we have launched a product in this space which enables you to take your CAD data. We don't really care which source of CAD data it is, as long as it's one of the major formats. We could take your CAD data and load that and put it in the device of your choice, and that will be a HoloLens, a tablet, or a Vive, or a Rift. You don't need to worry about preparing your source data. You just put the file on, drop it onto our application, and it can load large sets of data, and it can optimize them for the device that it's going to be targeted at. Efficiently loads them upstream, so does it as quickly as possible, so it minimizes the effort for you, does it quickly, and it actually can feed this data into your upstream VR requirements should you have things like Powerwalls, Caves, and other high-end VR devices. We can link off to other systems to get metadata. I talked about getting metadata such as stock, inventory levels, pricing. So we've got the ability to do that with web services calls, and we have some experience of how this can be applied in the real world by by bringing our experience and applying it into real use cases. So we do have something you can try with and to get things going with. But I must stress, as we go to the final slide, really, what you do need to do as you go forward now is this is where majority of people are. They're looking at how to take this forward. They're looking at these use cases, and they're building support from internal people to fund it. And the funding is very much in terms of getting devices and people internally to actually look at this and consider it. Look at the use cases. How can they take it forward? The server and IT infrastructure is required, but it's not a major cost, and neither is the software from people such as ourselves. And as I've said to you before, it's looking at the feasibility, looking at can we get a return on their investment in this area. A lot of people are looking at this. A lot of people do believe they can get a return on the investment. It's a question of how much, and there's quite a buzz in this in the market space. What I'm convinced about is that this technology is not just a fad. I think this technology will happen. It will come into production systems. I think it's now so strong. It's got so much momentum that it will roll through industry as we go through the coming years. It's a question really of how people apply it. And the questions are whether you as a business choose to wait until you see it more established, or whether you want to grab the mantle now really and run forward with it and try to see how it can be used in your business. Because one thing, again, it's another thing for sure, is that these devices will become lighter, quicker and better, and if you are prepared now with today's technology, you'll be fantastically positioned as you go forward with the new devices as they become available in the years to come. So on that note, I'm going to leave it at that. My name again is David Shackleton. These are my contact details. If you're outside of the Americas, please do contact me. If you're in the Americas, please contact my colleague Mark Davey. And we'd love to hear from you to discuss it further. I'm sure we'll try and contact you as well. But thank you very much indeed for your time. Very much appreciate it.